week, but I've got him at 1 for now. And with that, joining us here up and onto the program, talking about the AFC South and the the Tennessee Titans, and playing for X amount of years in the NFL, Kevin Dyson joins us here on the program. To tell you, I mean, it is unfortunate to see right now with where Tennessee is. But
I can't hear you. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you for some reason.
All right, hold on.
Let's see.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Hold on, bro.
Let's see. What's going on here? We got that. I wonder why the mic is not. Hold on.
Huh. You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, crap, man.
Hold on 1 second. We got a little bit of a technical difficulty. Hang on 1 second, guys. Got a little of a technical difficulty. We're getting some things fixed up. Let's see. Oh, can you hear me all right, Kevin?
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Shoot.
Let's see if I can. I'm going to resend in this one real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. Not sure what's going on, but we're going to get this fixed up here for you guys. Yeah, I'm just going through technical difficulties right now up and at the moment, but we're going to get things fixed up. All right, let's see if we can get this fixed. All right. So as we're getting the technical difficulties figured out, hold on 1 second. The pro webcam.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? All right, there we go.
Hey,
all right.
You can't teach old dog new tricks, bro.
All right. So as we were mentioning, first of all, we know right now the Tennessee Titans, it's unfortunate for them. They're going to be looking at draft implications. But I will tell you though, two teams in the AFC South, they have really impressed me a lot. I didn't even see this one coming, but the Houston Texans, they got fire in their belts, and they're determined to either shoot for the division or make their way into the wild card playoff spot. And then there's the Jags, which a lot of people like. I didn't see this one coming. This I knew that Liam Cohen was the offense, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. Right. So they're a pretty determined team, and these are two teams now, as you saw in the top 10, that I think could really wreak some havoc in the AFC. What have you seen from the AFC South this year? Because we know the Colts had a good streak. The Texans right now are still a hot team, and then the Jags are just a team that not a ton of people are paying attention to, and they're starting to see it now. What do you make of it?
Well, I think let's start with Houston. I think when you have a solid defense, you always give yourself a chance, an opportunity to be in football games, right? I think, obviously the offense sells tickets, and it's what people come to see, the ball in the air, points on the board. But it goes to show you that if you can play some solid defense and make it hard on some offenses in the National Football League, you always give yourself a chance to win, regardless of how your offense is playing. And I think that's number one. But on the other side of that, I think Jacksonville, although they're playing solid defense, I think what they're doing uniquely is being efficient on the offensive football side. They're passing the ball well, and they're able to get some running game out of Etienne that I don't think a lot of people expected. He's one of the he's in the top 5, top 6 rushers in the National Football League right now. I think that makes for a good recipe, especially getting into this point of the season when it's getting cold. You got to be able to run the football a little bit, and you got to be able to convert third downs in the passing game. And I think that's what Jacksonville's been able to do. And I don't think we should sleep on the coach just yet. They got a wily veteran who hasn't played in a while, but he knows the game. He's going to be able to process things pretty quick. We know what they have in the running back and the receiving core is pretty deep, and they've got a pretty solid defense as well. Unfortunately for them, injuries have kind of played a little bit of a part here in this late part of the season. But it's going to be real interesting to see if they can bounce back with Phillip at the helm.
It's interesting. And I was really impressed with Phil because a 44-year-old quarterback to come back into the NFL and did what he did, like it looked like he didn't really lose much of a step. He's still slinging. And I had a feeling because I'm like, I know with him and helping his son Gunner get college offers, I know he's got to do something. But the minute I saw it, I was like, wow, that's really impressive. So two teams that I was kind of torn behind when it came to the top 10. Buffalo and the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
This AFC conference looks wide open. I don't know what teams to trust here. But Buffalo, I love Josh Allen. Yeah. The offense themselves flows through him. But I have a concern because after that Houston game, that was question marks, even though that defensively they were getting after him. But there were times even in the Cincinnati game, you're in the snow, you're in the cold, and you're trailing in the first half. And then the second half, they finally turn it around. They've got the completions. And if it wasn't for the 2 picks, that one was a pick by Joe Burrow, Cincinnati could have beat them.
Yeah.
So there's a point in which I feel like they played so much close game and are like, all right, we got to enough. The Chargers, on the other hand, what's tough is both these teams play division rivals, but the Chargers swept the Chiefs this year. And they're 5-0 in the division. But I look at the coaching aspect, and I feel like with Jim Harbaugh, there's a lot of trust, a lot of grittiness. The defense has been playing extremely well. In your experience, when you played along with Jeff Fisher, this was a team that was gritty. This was a team that believed. And you had a really good defense unit. When you look at highly talented offense, Buffalo, and then gritty, physical defense in the Chargers. What really outweighs it? Because I think that's a big thing that a lot of fans are asking themselves as we get ready to play.
Well, it goes to show you there's no exact formula to winning National Football League. And I think one word you said right there is gritty. I think when you have a team that has grit behind them, that knows how to win in close games, a la Buffalo, I think that bodes well for you in the postseason. You go back to our Super Bowl run in '99, we won a lot of close games that year. And when we got to the playoffs, it was just kind of second nature to us to be in those situations and not get shook. Even up until the Super Bowl, until the last play, we all believed we were going to go length of the field and score and neutralize that game. And I think you look at a team like Buffalo, they're battle tested, a lot of veterans, a lot of guys with experience, playoff experience. They've won a lot of football games. I think that makes them real dangerous, especially this time of the year. And you saw what happened with them in New England the other night. As far as the Chargers, man, you can't knock what Harbaugh's been able to do on every level of coaching. Everywhere he's been, he's whatever he does, the trust you mentioned, getting guys that buy into the system, into what he's selling. He's done it everywhere, and he's won everywhere. So there's something to the magic of him as a coach and his ability to pull out of his players what he needs and make them relevant. And I think when you got a guy who's intelligent like Harbaugh, who knows the game, who is pulling the best out of his players, there's something you gotta pay attention to. But don't sleep on Denver. I know you're talking about San Diego, or I keep calling San Diego, the LA Chargers. That's how old I am, right? And but people are sleeping on the Broncos. It's almost like they're the quietest number one seed in the AFC ever. It's just people not recognizing those 12, 13 wins. I think they got 12, 13 right now. And so, that division is pretty tough now, especially with Kansas City being knocked out and they're without their quarterback. It's kind of shaping up for somebody, a new guard, Herbert or Dye, to come in and say, this is my division now. So it's going to be interesting going down the stretch of last month of football.
So we win this on Monday night. Now we watched Sunday. We watched Phillip Rivers throw, and then we watched Monday night with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. What I said at the beginning of the program is that if you're Pittsburgh, you got to feel good to win, like ultimate. But I also do think that we've watched games in which Pittsburgh, there has been tendencies where if they're not on their A game, both offensively and defensively, teams are going to want to figure out. But I do believe that with the experience of Aaron Rodgers to an extent, that if you get Aaron into the playoffs, people have told me that's the scariest time that you ever want to have someone in, and that's Aaron doing his thing and finding a way to get Pittsburgh out of this funk that they've been in since 2017 going into the playoffs and finding a way to win a playoff game for the first time in years. When I look at this whole roster construction, like Kansas City, it's got veterans. It's kind of a little old. There's not a lot of youngster juice in there that can give you time. If you physical play, both offensively and defensively, what do you make of Pittsburgh? Because I said at the beginning of the year, I thought this team might miss out on the playoffs, which potentially there's a chance. But I feel like Pittsburgh, there's some trust in this building as well, and what it means for Tomlin's future in this organization.
Which is interesting. I'll start with the Tomlin thing. And just how a person that can be on the chopping block after being a Super Bowl champion and never having a losing season ever as a head coach, and that's just amazing to me. There's a couple things to what you mentioned. I think one, it's hard to replace experience, and especially at the quarterback position, because they seen it and done it all. There's not a lot that you can surprise them with. It just becomes about protection and your ability to get open and find gaps, and they're going to usually throw you open. So people like Aaron Rodgers and such, and even talking about Phillip Rivers, these are guys that, they know the game, have been around a very long time. So you're not going to surprise them. I think the biggest thing for me, for the Steelers, is yet still having a consistent running game. I think that's one thing that helps a veteran quarterback as well, being able to run the ball consistently. I think they do some things well in the passing game, got big bodies, got, guys to stretch the field. And we saw what they do even with their tight ends. But they got to be able to run the football at this time of year. Not that you don't want to rely on Aaron Rodgers to be able to carry it through, but it'd be nice for him to not have to carry the load so much or be dependent on winning football games with his arm. He's not like a Lamar or some of these other Patrick Mahomes. Even he's not running anymore. Not as much. And so him using his legs is not the big of a threat. So you got to have somebody else that can use their legs, kind of help mitigate the pass rush and things of nature that he wants to utilize. He's an intelligent guy. He's got great ball placement, great touch. And so if they're going to do anything in this latter part of the year, they got to figure out how to get that run game going consistently. That is.
So discussing about draft implications, the Tennessee Titans have a lot to think about and really reshape up their organization. I love Cam. I think he's very highly talented. What's funny is I actually had your former teammate Blaine Bishop on the show here a couple of episodes back, and we were discussing talking about Brian Callahan. I didn't think this was a strong enough fit. I felt like after Vrabel left, what you're seeing in New England, it's a completely different culture.
Yeah,
I think this team needs a lot of firepower on offense. I mean, Adam Mayer, he is really good of a receiver that I think I don't know if he can turn into a one, but he is productive enough that can be a secret weapon for Cam Ward. But you got to get more offense up in this building. And when I think of coaching styles, There's been a lot of names around. Mike McCarthy, a couple of coordinators that are also up and on there. Jesse Ingber and Robert Sala. In your opinion, when you look at this as far as coaching availability and someone that can match this culture, is there anybody that comes to mind in your opinion that can really get music pumped up again here in that?
Oh man, I think there's several people out there. There's still going to be some moves towards the end of the year. There's going to be some surprises. I mean, you mentioned Mike Tomlin might be in. They're calling for his head for whatever reason, and I think that would be a surprise to the National Football League. And I think there's a lot of organizations that would be lucky to have him and want him. Mike McCarthy is intriguing. He's also another guy who's won almost every time. He's got 2, maybe 3 losing seasons in his head coaching tenure and a Super Bowl title, but yet he's out here looking for a job. And I think there's intriguing to a veteran. I think for me, the bias would be a veteran coach, maybe rather offensive defense, a guy that could kind of knows the game a little bit. And I mean, they all know the game. I mean, just being able to rally the troops, have that veteran presence, that kind of that old head. And I'm not saying you gotta go get a 90-year-old coach. That's not what I'm saying. Just somebody that's kind of been around the block and has a proven record that can win football games in a formula that has worked. Now, you take somebody like Mike McCarthy and you talk about, well, he's won it where he won, and he hasn't won the big ones in a while. But the fact of the matter is, when you're at a crux of a downslide or a valley, if you will, when you haven't won in a long time, you want somebody that has a proven record to win. That's my opinion. Now, are there great, young, talented, up-and-coming coordinators and things of that nature that I think would do well? Absolutely, man. I think the trend of the NFL is trying to find that next young gun like the Rams did several years ago with McVay, and I think, everybody wants to hit that touch the cloak of greatness, that unforeseen brilliance of somebody like him, and hoping that it works. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And it hasn't worked here at Tennessee, unfortunately. But, I think getting a veteran that can rally the troops and give them a positive outlook, man, and have guys ready on Sunday, I think that's the direction that they're going to go.
Two fiery questions here before we let you go. So I outlook this season, and there's already reports right now that San Francisco could potentially be moving on from Brandon Ayuk. There's been a part of me when I look at wide receivers. I mean, the gameplay, like the style has changed, but the game has. Where you really got to play smart offenses. Where I love the resurgence of the run game because these running backs are getting tougher. They're playing in the trenches. But oftentimes you got the trustworthy wide receivers that can either get open for you and make the catch. They can physically block, give you open lanes to help out and support for a running back. I felt like, and no disrespect in this regard, but I felt like the wide receiver jump has kind of been on the slight decline. And I think a lot of that is because quarterbacks, they're kind of figuring it out from different coaching schemes. They're playing a little more smarter football. When you look at it from a wide receiver perspective, what has changed a lot? Because, I mean, you witnessed it on the other side of the field. You watched the greatest show up on turf and the immaculate offense they were able to put together. But when you look at today's game, like what's changed and what's something as far as receivers to really kind of get through to show their importance, their role, and what they really need to win.
Oh man, that's a tough question. I think these receivers of today are as skilled, if not more skilled, than in my era, the era before us. I think, especially from a depth perspective, there's a lot of talented guys out there, man, and they're very skilled. Catch ball radius is outstanding. A lot of tough catches. Not to knock the generation. I think the difference being is, expectations. When I came in, you had to be, and even probably before me, you had to be an intelligent receiver. I'm not saying these guys are dumb, so I don't want to be misquoted. I'm just saying we had to learn the game. There was so many integral parts of the game where it wasn't just line up and you ran this route. There was actually adjustments and on the fly adjustments and things of that nature. And I think there's a lot of young receivers that struggle with that because the high school and even before high school and to college game, the game is dictated to them. So there's not a lot of thinking. They let the athletes be the athlete. And I think the NFL is trending that way because these guys are tremendous athletes and trying to take the thinking out of it. And I think that's part of this transitional phase that you're talking about is that's where you're trending to, because I think the NFL is doing a good job of adjusting to that. They've adjusted to the nuances of the quarterback changing too. No longer as much of a statuesque guy in the pocket where they want guys to be able to be mobile and move a lot more than they did back in the 90s, 80s, and 70s. So I think now with the college game and guys lining up on one side or the other, and they really don't move the field as much unless you're an interior receiver, inside receiver, I think that has taken some growing edges with some guys, and some do it better than others, obviously. But the athleticism and the ability and the size and the speed of these kids nowadays, man, there's been an era like it, and they're super talented. And they just got to continue to grow that mental aspect of their game. And you see it when you see guys that kind of pull it all together, that's when you get that unique receiver, that special guy. And you see a few of them in the league right now.
So I'd love to hear this. So we're in the grittiness of the NFL season where we got 3 weeks left, playoffs start, and it's everybody's game up from here. So there are teams that we've had so much familiarity to come into the playoffs and then do that. And then there's teams that can often either be one and done or surprising getting into. You guys, from your play here, you were a surprising team where the culture turned around 360, and the new look, the fan base, everybody was all behind you, buying into, and you got to the Super Bowl. You were part of two crucial things: the Music City Miracle and the track. When I think about overcoming adversity, because that's important for a player, for a coach, for a team. What's kind of a piece that when going back into your career, when undergoing that, and then finding ways to motivate guys, getting you prepped up, whether it's a big game, a season, especially for these teams going in, because there's no one that motivates them to trust, believe, and fight for every yard, every inch until that sweet taste of victory is right there up in front of them.
Competition, whether it be football or curling in the Olympics, man, it has its way of bringing stuff out of you. And I think if you ask any person that had any kind of career in the National Football League and had injuries or anything of that nature, they wouldn't change a moment of it. They'd go through the rehab all over again because it was such a unique opportunity. When you're in there, you're 1% or less than 1%, and you have an opportunity to play a kid's game for a king's ransom. And I think, man, from my standpoint and playing the game and getting to Super Bowls and things of that nature, when you deal with adversity, as you mentioned, I was fortunate or unfortunate. I had a lot of injuries that kind of cut my career a lot shorter than I anticipated or even wanted, or even what my talent would suggest. But it wasn't incarcerated because of injuries. But what you have to do in what sport, regardless of sport, curling, football, basketball, flag football, lacrosse, whatever, and golf, what it teaches you is what you talk about, man, that resilience, that grit. It teaches you accountability. It teaches you motivation. It teaches you so much, man, and you're able to hopefully instill those things in the people behind you, those people you're responsible for, because there's nothing like sport. There's a lot of people that are successful because of their opportunities to play sport and do things related to sports and outside of sports. And that's why we all love the game of football. Because honestly, I don't know if there's another team sport. And I was a basketball kid when I grew up growing up, but I don't know if there's another team sport. And maybe hockey feels the same. Baseball might feel the same. Everybody probably feels something the same. But there's nothing like football where you have 11 pieces on the puzzle. and everybody has a responsibility. And if one person messes up, it messes up the other 10. And then sometimes you can mess up and it work out for you, and you have to do your job on every play to some kind of satisfaction in order to be successful. And if you're not, your team is not. And so that's the ultimate collaborative sport where you got relying on your man to your right and left more so than this about any sport. Basketball, the reason I say it might be different is basketball. I can isolate, put 4 guys on one side of the court, put my best player on the other, and say I'm going one-on-one and deal with you. I don't even need those other 4 guys. Football, you can put a receiver on the island, but guess what? That left tackle has to block Garrett or Pear or whoever. That center has to block Big Jeff. That quarterback has to see you. That safety has not to rotate over there. Like, there's a whole lot that has to go right for you in football. And that's why, man, I think people are so passionate about the game, because there's so much that goes into it and it's so much fun to watch.
God, well said. I absolutely love it. And yeah, getting the chance to clip that and send it to a youngster, whether they love this game or they're preparing for the big promotion of it. That's awesome. I absolutely love that. Great words from you, Kevin. Appreciate you for taking the time, coming up and onto the show. Happy holidays to you and your family, man. 2026, full of endeavors for the future, man. Appreciate you for coming on by. Take care of yourself, and we'll definitely see how this NFL season, the rest of it, pans out. Because I think some grittiness, some fight, and we'll see who's worthy of it more coming down the stretch. Take care, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Absolutely. All right, there you go. I love it. Absolutely love this. This is why I love the game. I love what we do here, and just having the opportunity of getting experiences up and onto the show, and especially with that, because we don't know. We're in the state of unknowns. It's amazing of just the game.